Greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about the future in outer space. Now, ever since the start of the pandemic, a whole lot of people have had a whole lot of time to sit around and consume a whole lot of media and content, both on network news, on cable TV, and here on the internet. And unfortunately, one of the things that many people have been forced to witness, because every time a story about it pops up, it's quite literally everywhere, is old, extremely rich white dudes who are apparently in a small country club competition to see which of them can build the largest rocket, most shaped like a dick, and then ejaculate it off into space with them on board, upon the largest possible combustible cloud of taxpayer-funded subsidies. Yes, that's right, the Great Space Race Part 2. This time, it's privatized. Now, part of this bizarre fucking story arc that came out of nowhere has been the belief that all of these extremely wealthy old white dudes are planning on perfecting the craft of launching into space and coming back so that they could eventually go build an Elysium-style bougie retreat in outer space where all the wealthy people will go and live in luxury while 8 billion plebes sit on a really hot planet Earth and slowly melt to death due to all the climate change that came about from all the capitalism that extracted all the resources to make all the money so that the old rich white dudes could get off the planet before the burning really started to burn hot. And while that has been a very horrific thought, what if I told you that we might have all gotten it wrong and, well, the future that they are envisioning is actually far more fucked up than the one we're envisioning. So what I would like to do today, unfortunately, is show you what the space-tastic future really looks like inside the mind of one of those previously mentioned old, really rich white dudes. Buckle up, kids. We're going into orbit. Here we go! Amazon's Jeff Bezos predicts only a limited number of people will get to remain on Earth. What? I mean, I'm not a huge fan of what we're doing to the planet, but I kind of like it here. What do you mean only a limited number of us will get to remain here? And which people are that? And what happens to the rest of the people? And oh, good Lord, it looks like I was right, and this is about to get far more horrific. It turns out that while we've all been playing checkers talking about space tourism, Jeff Bezos is playing 3D chess. Everybody's focused on billionaires sending people to the edge of space, but Bezos' grand plan is actually to send all of humanity into space with the chance to revisit Earth like tourists visiting national parks each summer. What? Wait a minute. Jeff Bezos is sending us all to space on one dick-shaped rocket that fits like 12 people? That seems highly inefficient. The remarks came last week at an event held at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., with NASA Administrator Bill Nelson and others talking about space policy. Bezos sat down for a one-on-one chat with Edie Ignatius, the editor-in-chief of the Harvard Business Review. He brought up themes we've heard before, including his vision that all polluting industries will exist in space one day, and that we'll all live on space colonies that could, in his estimation, support 1 trillion people. But he expanded on his vision in greater detail about what exactly will happen to the planet we'll all leave behind for Blue Origin branded space colonies. Yeah, hold on. Whoa. I would like to know more about said space colonies that apparently Jeff Bezos is going to send us all to, you know, in outer space. I was not aware of the fact I was moving. I just signed a mortgage. It's for like 30 years. This is going to be really inconvenient. So it would appear that Jeff Bezos's space colonies that he's thinking about will be, quote, vast cylindrical colonies spinning to create artificial gravity for millions of residents to take over most industrial production. I thought Bezos and all the old rich white dudes were building robots, and that robots were going to replace us if we asked for, you know, like $8 an hour, or I don't know, some health benefits or something. That's what I've been led to believe. Bezos is building robots. The robots are going to come take our jobs and make us obsolete, right? Apparently, that plan has been scratched, and now instead of robots, Bezos is going to build giant cheese graters in space and then fly us all out there in dick-shaped rockets and make us do industrial production. Jesus fucking Christ, he's building fucking slave colonies in space. This is... Whoa, can we go back to them all just building Elysium in space and leaving us burning on Earth? Could we go back to that thing? Because that actually seems preferable now. Oh, good Lord. Meanwhile, Earth will be turned into a natural reserve with restricted access similar to U.S. parks today. Who's the access going to be restricted to? Which of us will be restricted from going to... Wait a minute. Hold on. Are they literally going to take all 8 billion of us and put us onto fucking space slave colonies? And then Earth's just going to be like 1,000 old douchey rich white people? Like playing the world's biggest fucking game of golf? I'm starting to think that Bezos literally wants to turn Earth into his own private golf course, and the only people who will get to stay here will be the caddies? I mean, I guess, since he's not building the robots anymore. This is really bad. And of course, here's some of his quotes to, back up his grand vision for the future. Quote, "This place is special. We can't ruin it," said Jeff Bezos of planet Earth, while he's in the middle of ruining it by buying up all the resources that have to be extracted from the planet required to build, I don't know, maybe a second dick-shaped rocket or some of these extremely large space slave colonies that are going to hold 8 billion people. I feel like you don't really protect the planet, and you are in fact ruining it by extracting all the metal out of what's left of it and putting it into outer space for us to do industrial work on. Quote, "Millions of people will move from Earth to space over time, and that's the vision of Blue Origin. Millions of people working in space," he said, referring to his own firm. He's not hiding it. He's saying the quiet part out loud. Working. This is kind of like those high school history textbooks in Texas that referred to slaves as foreign labor. Yes, Jeff Bezos wants to send everybody into space to work. So wait, do we get a choice? Because, I mean, yeah, it's getting really warm, but I'd prefer to stay here. Do I don't get a vote? No? Quote, "Over centuries, most or many of the people will be born in space. It will be their first home. They will be born on these colonies. They will live on these colonies. But they may visit Earth the way you would visit Yellowstone National Park." Okay, everybody in the internet, show of hands. How many of you have ever had the time and the money to take vacation, pack the whole family up, and then go hang out in Yellowstone National Park for a week? I don't see many of you raising your hands. So, slave colonies then. We just get to see Earth out of the tiny little padlock window in our tiny little pressurized cell that we sleep in the 8 hours a day that we're not working for 16 hours on the industrial colonies in space. I mean, again, if this is just a very large series of threats, congratulations, they worked. Please go ahead, build the robot army to do all our jobs. I'm gonna go with option B. It turns out that this is not the first time Jeff Bezos has outlined his plans for space. Business Insider reported that Bezos' obsession with space colonies goes back to his high school days, and how he views space colonies as the answer to existential threats on Earth due to increasing pollution and population. Also, fun fact here, Jeff Bezos is the person who directly benefits from overpopulation because it leaves more potential workers out there, and the more of them there are, the cheaper you can value labor and pay them less so you can make more money while you're creating more pollution, extracting all the resources that you'll need to build more dick rockets. As Bezos noted at the forum, the colonies would mimic Earth's weather and gravitation pull, and even feature rivers and forests and wildlife. These would be giant spinning cylinders in space that would have the capacity of holding 1 million people on them. People would be born on them, live their lives on them, and then the Earth could be conserved like a national park. Bezos actually cited a similar vision back in 2019, and Elon Musk caught wind, and apparently the two of them had a little internet spat over whose vision of making a science fiction future was possibly more realistic. And I hate to say it, but right now it looks like Bezos is winning, because I can't see any capitalist with a shit ton of money turning down the idea of sending us all into space in dick rockets to go live in giant aluminum cheese grater space colonies that are totally going to have wildlife and rivers and forests and shit. Quote, "It makes no sense. In order to grow the colony, you'd have to transport vast amounts of mass from planets, moons, and asteroids. It would be like trying to build the USA in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean," said Elon Musk, the guy who owns SpaceX, and the guy who also wants to put people in space, but rather his idea is that he wants to terraform Mars because he saw it in a science fiction movie like Star Trek and thought it sounded really cool. Also, fun fact, Elon Musk has been 1,000% unable to do even a single thing to benefit the Earth or the Earth's atmosphere, yet somehow thinks that he's going to just make Mars really awesome and temperate so that, again, they can take people off of Earth and launch them off into space to work colonies that totally won't resemble any sort of slavery. It's just that you won't have any option and you have absolutely no way to get back to Earth other than through the good graces of one of the rich old white guys who, you know, took you to space so that you could work. So what does all of this mean for you, the average viewer at home, the fellow member of the working class? Well, to start with, it means if you're ever walking down the street at night and somebody starts driving by you very slowly in a windowless white cargo van and rolls down the window and goes, "Psst, hey, want to take a ride on a dick rocket?" You should probably say no and then run. It's good advice. Consider that one an extra freebie for the day. You're all welcome, but I digress. The larger point of what this means for all of you is that we have all been duped and hoodwinked. We've spent the last 2 years laughing our asses off on social media at these uber-rich chuckle fucks and their vision of Elysium in outer space, you know, making outer space awesome while they're totally incapable of fixing Earth. We really all bought that shit. And now it turns out they just want to eject us all from the planet in much the same way that we try to eject cockroaches and rodents from our buildings, because apparently that's how the uber wealthy view us. So I guess the only silver lining in this entire fucking story is that they're actually not going to be building robots to replace us if we ask for more than $8 an hour, because they're going to have to pivot all of Earth's remaining resources towards dick-shaped rockets and space colonies that totally don't resemble any sort of work camps or human slavery or lack of consent in having to work for a space corporation, or else we get ejected from the fucking chute into freezing deep space with no oxygen, where I've been led to believe that nobody will hear your screams or cries. So hey everybody, let's focus on that good part. No more robot work replacements, which means until they start ejecting us into space, you can continue asking for more money, better conditions at work, and goddamn it, if your boss isn't going to give it to you, Talk to your other people at work. Organize, agitate, and demand better, because we gotta at least be a solid 10 or 20 years away from a dick rocket in the space colonies. Cool? Yeah, let's go with that. Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet, and I am out. Peace.